Hollywood now? Okay, well, you're almost done with that, right?
Up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I still got all the towel racks and all those.
Did all this morning?
Yeah, we started about 9:30.
You guys did a fast job.
Yeah, we're quitting now for this.
Just you two?
What?
How much more to do, Robert?
It's about a little over a third, I guess.
Is this the last thing to be done?
Well, the pump and the mechanism, probably.
Great.
The grate, yeah, there's a grate that goes in here.
Huh?
Rocks on top of that too, see?
All right.
There's a vault down there 4 foot deep. That's why we need a grate over it.
Now, what are you calling this, Robert?
This fountain?
Yeah, this whole project. What are you calling it? I've heard 3 different things. I want to hear what you'd say.
Just the fountain, I don't know.
The Fasnacht.
Fasnacht small fountain, how about that?
All right.
Thank you.
Take a look down in there and see what they're doing. Yeah.
Oh, Brian. This looks so good. It's almost done, too.
Okay, so I put that power and stuff. I'm going to come in also with those off. Because we got our connection. Juliet!
Romeo! When's it going to be done?
Next week!
Great.
This is much. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What do you think?
I think it's marvelous. Smart enough to put this ramp so you didn't have to walk across the
Have
newly
you ever worked
planted
with Mel?
grass.
Have you ever worked with Mel Greenberg?
He would never have approved.
I assured Mel that
We wouldn't hurt his
it
grass.
wouldn't hurt the grass.
Now, I've heard this called 3 different things now.
You boys do nice work.
I've heard this called 3 different things. What is its official name?
The Fasnacht Court?
Fasnacht Court.
That is the official name, yes.
Okay.
It used to be the mall, but when you add a fountain, you change it from mall to court.
Oh my!
Ah.
And it's not a square, obviously.
Aha!
I think we'll surprise everybody. I mean,
That's what I'm afraid of.
we've been playing. Well, no, we're going to keep it low. We won't. We've got to keep it contained within the ditch. But from the kinds of calculations we've been doing, we should have a nice. It should be a nice plume of water, a nice big jet coming up. And it'll make wonderful sounds splashing on the rock.
Do you know that Ann wants one of these in our backyard now, Brian?
Oh, okay. Summer project. I'll do that on my days off.
Something tells me you don't have a lot of time for moonlight. And he still does as much physical labor as
Yeah.
ever. He just has to do the other on top of that. That's right.
Sometimes you have to hide the mess, but this is coming out really nice.
Oh, this really looks nice.
Beautiful. Zorna came out. This is funny. She says, "How do you know which rock goes where?" I says, "It's easy, Zorna. There's numbers on the bottom of the rocks." She almost believed it.
That's like a puzzle.
That's what it is.
I'm impressed.
Oh, good, good.
Good.
I believe you're going to be ready a month from today, too, or a month from yesterday.
We're ready.
There may be this or that detail that it may be a matter of a problem with something order not having arrived, but the major body of everything is done and will be done.
What are you trying to do? The light fixtures? Or?
Possibly the light fixtures, although we're having them second day mail shipped from the East Coast, and we have a month.
Yeah.
There's that. There's the placement of any, like if we want to put a spotlight up there, that kind of thing.
I'm not worried about
But
that.
it's
impressions of this as a project for the senior class and for the student body?
I think this whole project with the rededication just gets the students more involved with the continuation of the growth of Laverne, and it gives the students that donated a feeling of belonging even more after they've gone from Laverne after they graduated, and they can come back and see year after year that something physical that's left on campus, not just something that's a memory. The memories are important, but this is going to be something that they can come back year after year and say, hey, look, my class left this here.
Most of the time I remember seeing you by his side.
Yeah, I have tried to be. Most of the time I could.
And isn't it marvelous to be at his side today in the dedication of this Fasnacht Court?
It certainly is. It certainly is.
What are your thinking at this moment?
Oh, I tell you, words can't express how I feel. I think it is great. I just think it is so wonderful that this has happened at the time when we can still enjoy it and appreciate it. It's a nice memorial, a living memorial.
Yes, indeed.
This is a special day for all of us. It's really a dream come true for me. In October of 1984, I was a candidate for the presidency of the University of Laverne. And the day I came for my interview, the first interview, I walked in from this parking lot out here through the Fasnacht Court. And I thought to myself, this is not a fitting tribute to Harold Fasnacht. He had served the longest term as president of the institution, and under his leadership so much had happened to build this into a quality college, later to become the University of Laverne. Well, I told some people about that, and they went to work, and the result of their labors is here this afternoon. So it's an extremely proud occasion for me. I participate in a lot of ceremonies, but none are as pleasant as this one this afternoon. I can think of nothing I would rather do than honor Harold Fasnacht and Ruth Fasnacht for their contributions to this university, our alma mater. The longer Ann and I serve in this position, the greater our appreciation for Harold and Ruth's 20 years in the presidency and 20 years since serving in so many capacities of leadership. They have given half their lives, and what benefits this university has derived from their services. Harold and Ruth, the investment has been a large one for you, and I hope you have derived satisfaction from the dividends that have accrued to the University of Verne. There are many people who are with us this afternoon, but some who could not be here. Harold, last Thursday, George Scott called me. He could not be here today. He's in the hospital undergoing chemotherapy. But he wanted me to send his greetings to you on this special occasion. There are a number of people who I will thank as we go through the program, but I want to start today by introducing one who will lead the remarks on this special occasion. He is my boss, so I will be very careful about the introduction. I've always said that if one is too flowery about their boss, they'll become suspicious. However, if you miss something important, you could be in deep trouble. This man is a man of high integrity. He's provided leadership to this university in troubled times and always risen to the occasion. He really should have been a radio announcer rather than a bank vice president. It is my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Kyle Snavy.
You have been an inspiration to me, the two of you, your lives, what you represent in the terms of integrity, in the terms of love, in the terms of devotion. And I only hope that I can, in some way, in my life, emulate your life, because it is that much of an inspiration to me. And later I understand things are going to happen back here, and I would like to suggest, this is the Fasnacht Court, of course, but looking at you, Ruth, and looking at you, Harold, I think this should be known as the Fountain of Youth. Thank you.
There weren't too many people here today who were able to say that they served on the Board of Trustees in 1948, but we have one gentleman who was on the Board of Trustees in 1948 and was honored recently for 45 years of service to the University of Verne as a member of the Board of Trustees in varying capacities. Now, I'm curious to know how many others here today knew Harold or were here in 1948 when he and Ruth came to Verne College. Would you raise your hands if you were here in 1948 when Harold and Ruth came? That's quite a showing. That's quite a showing. But it is my privilege now to introduce a man who will speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees who were here in 1948, Mr. Frank Howell.
I think friendships, as I've advanced in these years, have become more important to me as time has gone by. I was a senior at McPherson College when this red-haired boy from Colorado arrived. I think it's red then, wasn't it, Harold?
That's the only name I have.
Harold came as a freshman then. I was aware of him through the years. Then, when I graduated, I went to pastor a church at Conway Springs, Kansas, where Harold's relatives, a bunch of relatives lived, his grandmother and his uncle and so forth. It's a pleasure, it's been a pleasure through the years to recognize Harold, and it was a pleasure back in '48 when the board did decide to invite Harold out to be our president. I remember when I met him and Ruth at the airport, and we had some little time together during that time. You have on your program there a list of trustees that were trustees at that time. I noticed that time has gone by, and a bunch of those trustees aren't living anymore. That impressed me. Well, this, Harold and Ruth, is a nice corner out here. I remember when we used to have the convocation at the beginning of school back in this area. I remember a friend of mine, Ova Brock, sang in one of those convocations. And just as she started singing, the train went by. This is a nice corner. It's a nice campus. It's changed quite a bit in all these many years. It was 60 years back when I knew Harold and Ruth at McPherson. I went back a couple of years ago for my 60th class reunion. That impressed me. There are 5 of us back for that 60 years. One has died since that time. The 60 years has been important to me. McPherson was important. Now Laverne has become my institution, more than McPherson has. Thank you, Ruth and Harold. Nice to have you here.
And Laverne has been blessed over the years by having some professors here. Dr. Herb Hogan is one of those people. There's no question when we ask the question of students, of alumni, of other faculty members, who is one of the finest professors ever to serve this institution, their first remark is Herb Hogan. We're honored today to have Herb Hogan here to say a few words. He has worked with Harold and Ruth in a number of capacities, and he's putting the finishing touches on a new book to cover the first 100 years of the University of Laverne. So it's appropriate that we have him speak and reflect on Harold's 20 years as president and his 20 years since that time. Dr. Herb Hogan.
Steve has to keep saying these nice things about me until the book is published. I don't know what will happen after that. Nice to be here on the same program with Frank Howell. Frank recruited me to come to Laverne as a student. So we have a connection which precedes that. In fact, Ruth. Having worked with Harold and Ruth for 40 years, I have a very deep, abiding appreciation for them as people and for them in terms of the work which they have done at the university. One of the things that's always stood out to me is that in terms of serving the university, they also think in terms of serving the community and the church. And they feel that to serve the community and the church is one way of serving the university. And if you looked at your little brochure, you will notice that while Harold was serving in numerous capacities, of which I will only mention a few, Executive Committee of the Western Association of Colleges, the President of the Independent Colleges of Southern California, member and Chairman of the General Brotherhood Board, President of Southern California Council of Churches, you find that Ruth was paralleling this. She organized and was president of the Faculty Women's Club. She was president of Pomona Valley YWCA, president of the Church Women's United, president of Hillcrest Homes Activities Council, president of the local Church Women Fellowship. And so they served not only the institution as you see it here, but the institution as it's reflected throughout the community and the church. As you already know, their loyalty and their dedication lasted much longer than the 20 years of the presidency of Harold Fasnacht. He has continued to give leadership and counsel in what we used to call the Development Office, which is now the Office of University Relations, for the 20 years after that. I would like, however, to concentrate my remarks a little more specifically on the years in which he was president, 1948 to 1968. I've said on another occasion or two that it seemed to me that what had to be done at that point was like pulling this university, or college as it was known at that time, up by its bootstraps. The Depression years had taken their toll. Some of the better faculty had left. During the war, some of the better faculty left. We only had 100 students at the end of the war. After the war, Dr. Gladys Muir and Dr. Clark Serafian and Pharrell Weiss left. There was only, at one point, early in Harold's term, there was only one faculty member with an honorary doctorate degree, with a earned doctorate degree. There were only 3 buildings on this campus when Harold arrived. So what he did, literally, was to construct this campus and this institution in terms of the on-campus program, which you and I know today. In terms of the physical plant, he took on 10 different building projects in his 20 years. That's one every 2 years. There wasn't one the first 2 years, so you have to skip that one. 8 of these were new buildings, 2 of them were additions to buildings. Student enrollment increased almost 3-fold during that period of time. Financially, the institution went from a contribution of the friends of the institution of $49,000 to a total in his last year of $621,000. That is almost a 1,300% increase. Steve, we could use that kind of increase any day now. Academically, before long, instead of 1 member of the faculty with an earned doctorate, we had 18. And when he left the campus in '68, over 50% of the faculty had earned doctorates. In terms of salaries, the average salary when he came on campus was approximately $2,300. The top salaries in '48 was $2,500, and it was increased by 5-fold. He began the summer session program. He began the 5th year program. He began the master's program. He brought Dr. Paul Baum here to help develop faculty and help us get accreditation. In fact, it seems to me that the seminal point in this development was when in 1955 we received accreditation by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, then actually Western College Association. That was a symbol of the tremendous development that Harold was able to bring within a period of 7 years, and it was a very necessary step if we were going to continue progress, and we did continue progress. And Harold, Ruth, to you more than anybody else, belongs the honor of developing this on-campus program at the University of Verne.
I also want to thank Robert Rodriguez, who put in a share of time in the construction of the fountain and some of the other cement work around. Robert missed a chance. That's tough for a city councilman. Mel Greenberg, our groundsman, is not here today, but he's responsible for the landscaping. The person who really put this together, though, is a person that I sleep with regularly. I said to Ann one day, you know, we need $10,000 at least to do the Fasnacht Court. After we get the $10,000, we need a design, and then we need to have it done by commencement weekend. Ha! Ann did it. Ann raised the money. She worked on the design. She had a team of people like Brian, and I do want to recognize her for her efforts to make this day possible. Ann? A number of people contributed their time and their dollars, but this was made possible by two large contributions, one from Alvina McMurray, and if you know any relationship there, you know what kind of pressure Ann applied, and also a large gift from Lowell and Eugenia Brubaker to make this possible, and of course a sizable contribution from the class of 1988. Representing the class of 1988 will be Kay Ruppel. Kay is the first recipient of the Herman Landis Spirit Award, which was awarded last year. And that says a great deal about the kinds of contributions Kay has made to this university. She's one of our star students. She's one of those we will watch with great pride as she goes out and makes contributions to her profession and to society. She's been the representative to the Board of Trustees, and she's taken that job extremely seriously this past year. She's going to be in graduate school at Indiana University next year. Shortly after commencement, she'll be going to Yellowstone, where she'll be serving as a guide. I also want to point out that Kay is single and eligible, and she would be quite a catch. It's a privilege for me to introduce one of our outstanding graduating seniors, Kay Ruppel.
The rededication of Fasnacht Court is an exciting event for the class of 1988. We are pleased to be a part of this project. The tradition of giving a gift to the university has been stagnant for 26 years. The last gift was given in 1962 and was the sign at the corner of C and 3rd Street. In November of last year, the committee began planning for all the students and alumni, and he's truly dedicated to the university. The senior class is honored to have our gift to the university as a part of such a beautiful area and dedicated to a beautiful man. Dr. Fasnacht. Throughout the renovation of this court, I've been taking pictures, and I've put them in the album for you and your wife.
Most everything in this university by committee, Kay, and therefore I think those applications that you receive really ought to be reviewed by a committee of several of us. We don't want you stuck with just anyone. They'll have to be very special. Well, Harold, it was 20 years ago that we dedicated the first Fasnacht Mall, and I was a member of the graduating class at that time, so that makes this occasion even more special for me to be standing here 20 years later to do it again. I know that members of Harold's family are here, and he may introduce them separately, but I would like them to stand and be recognized now. Members of Harold and Ruth's family. They have meant a great deal to him over the years, and they've traveled some distance to find us today. Well, I guess we've filled the time, so it's time to hear from the honorees, the most important people here this afternoon, the people we honor for their service, Harold and Ruth Fasnacht.
I thought, Steve, you were going to say, now it's time to go to the banquet. I don't know what to say. My, this is wonderful. I'm glad to know all those things about myself. This is a great event for us, and one in which I cannot respond appropriately because of the nice things you've said. And because over the years, however, that you'd stand up here and look out the window and see this kind of thing, or when the Science Education Building, and the people would look out the window and say, my, how lovely, how beautiful it is. It's my hope that as time goes by, as people look out up there, or as they walk through here, particularly as they stroll through, that they may pause and maybe in their minds will come again that lovely poem of Joyce Kilmer's, that only God can make a tree. But add to it the thought that when people combine their genius and their labor with God's creation, that surely something like this can come about, and that it is cause for pausing in reverence at least and say, my, how lovely and how good for me to be here. Both a genius and a beauty in this, and to some of her helpers, Tina Zimmerman, Mark Bagley, and Andy Handling, and I'm sure there must have been others, but those I'm aware of. And Steve and Ann, you've got everything it takes to put all this together and to see that it goes.
It is hard for me to express in words how I feel right now. This is a great occasion, and especially to think that we will get to enjoy it and have a living memorial rather than have it built after we're gone and can't use it.
And where's Kyle?
You got another picture?